we're here with Andries Fourie. Andries is the assistant professor of sculpture at Willamette University, and we're here in his studio on campus. Andries, if you can kind of just maybe explain what's going on with this particular one.
This one's still in process, and it's part of a series of 3 or 4 that I'm working on right now for an exhibition in there. Like most of my work, it has to do with memory and identity. I'm South African, so specifically in an South African and Afrikaans context. So a lot of these sort of have to do with the tension between tradition and modernity. The idea of looking at a culture and taking good aspects of its past. And, Afrikaans culture, because of apartheid, there's many negative things about the culture too, and sort of almost a process of archaeology in a way, of looking at layers, trying to figure out what is legitimate part of my culture, which parts were introduced by the nationalists and so on. But also, there's all my work is there's both a kind of a metaphorical aspect to it, but then there's also more personal parts, and these have to do with my relationship with my grandfather, who played music. This was an accordion, that's a concertina.
Okay.
These are all the traditional instruments and what's called boeremuziek, sort of Boer music, which is traditional music of my people. And it's become sort of a marker of ethnic nationalism in a way. It essentially evolved from British regimental band music. And we fought several wars against the British, so it's odd to think that something that's so much a marker of a point of ethnic pride is really something that comes from a different culture. Pretty interested in that notion of cultural hybridity, that there's nothing pure, nothing really authentic, that everything is a mix of influences and sources and things like that.
I see. And when did you come to the United States?
1989,
Uh-huh.
so the year before Mandela was freed, the height of apartheid.
Okay.
I mean, this one over here and
Okay.
that one over there.
All right. So this is one of your pieces that's got combines wood and some of the screen printing on metal plate.
I think what happened is I was making these sorts of forms, which fit on wheels. They fit on wheels.
Right.
With sort of steel structure, similar to the musical instrument ones. And then at a certain point, I thought, well, why don't I dispense with the wheels and see if I can just do something with the structure rather than it being just part of something, be the whole thing. And that's where these came from. And the process of making things is really important to me. I often think that if I were to allow my work to be more about the idea and to care less about the making of the object, in some ways it would free it up. But at the same time, who I am, my family, and my culture, that's really important to me. That one over there.
Oh, sure. I can run this. Oh, is that the steel bridge right there?
Yeah. This is that.
Oh, very interesting.
It's a photograph of the South African railway bridges, the steel ones are sort of like that. My grandfather was a bridge construction foreman on the railways.
I see.
And this work is, there are similarities between our experiences. He grew up in Patagonia in Argentina. There were Afrikaners who moved there after the World War to get away from the British. And then in 1939 he came back when he was 23 to South Africa, which was essentially a foreign country to him. And to the ship, the first experience of immigration.
Interesting.
Ghetto referred to the sort of idealized, nostalgic connection that Afrikaners have with land and with farming. And so sometimes I feel like our experience is very similar. The experience of moving to a different country and then finding that perhaps you'd rather be at the place that you came from, but you're not really able to go back. My grandfather used to make these weird things in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
He was a great collector of things. He once bought an entire steel railway bridge and had it deposited in his backyard without his wife knowing about it. My grandmother knew. He nearly had a stroke. Then over years, he would just sort of take that steel and make things out of it. As a kid, it would lay in this enormous mound in the backyard, and I'd climb around it and get stuck in there. So my grandfather had to make this long stick with the hook at the end, so my grandmother could unstick me. That's probably why I ended up becoming a sculptor.
Thank you, Andries.